editor of Sotheby's magazine, blog and podcast, where he worked alongside Caroline in her capacity as chairman of Sotheby Switzerland. Arsalan, over to you.
Thank you. I'm not expecting anybody knows my very podcast because I haven't done it quite a long time. So Caroline is the chairman of Sotheby's in Switzerland. She's been in that post for how many years now?
Chairman since 2014.
Since 2014.
No, 2012.
2012, okay, sorry. And then you've been at Sotheby's for quite a few years before that in various different positions. I read somewhere it was 8 different positions that you had.
I lost track.
You lost track. Suffice to say, Caroline has held an awful lot of positions at Sotheby's. It's a place where she has grown, she's thrived ever since pestering them relentlessly to give her a job back in the 90s. And that's the thing we're going to be talking about in the course of our conversation. But we're also going to be talking about what a corporate journey looks like in a place like Sotheby's. Sotheby's is one of the world's leading auction houses. It's a place where colossal sales take place, but it's also a lot more than that. It's a place where all manner of luxury goods, fine art, beautiful items are sold for clients and from clients around the world every year. So being at the heart of that in Geneva, in Switzerland, I think it's Geneva, is something that Caroline has been very much involved in. So I'll stop prattling away at this point, just because we're going to be going over Caroline's career in depth. And actually, before we start, just tell us, as well as being at this wonderful fair, what brings you to London this week? What actually are you doing in London this week?
We are actually holding a sale tonight, and what brings me to London is the clients who want to sell and buy from us tonight. And I was up all night, and I'm still looking on my phone because I'm tying up a bit, yes.
So these kind of things, it really does go down to the wire at the last minute, sometimes.
It's nerve-wracking, yes. But that is what we love, yes.
And I believe you've been at Venice just before that, so was that a private visit, or was that also a Sotheby's business?
You want me to tell you what I've done last week?
Yes.
So, there is never a typical day at Sotheby's. If you ask me what I'm doing every day, I can tell you I have no idea. Because there is no typical day. So a week ago we opened a selling exhibition in Sotheby's in Geneva. We invited clients and we sold some works from the selling exhibition. Then about 5 days ago I went with the board members of the MAMCO, which is the Museum of Contemporary Art in Geneva. We went to the Biennale, and I would do that in my position because this is how you connect with clients, and this is how you see the art, and this is how you see contemporary art, especially in the Biennale. I then, from there, had one day, which was in Geneva, and then had meetings, obviously for whatever I have to do in Geneva. Especially for the luxury sales, because we have consignments coming in for the November sales. So yesterday I arrived in London for the sales tonight and for the talk today. Yes, and I don't know what the day brings. A client came in yesterday afternoon. I showed him a painting that I thought should be in his collection, and I'm tying up sort of, I can't tell you everything about the secrets of Sotheby's, but it is going to be something hopefully that will be signed within 1 hour. So hopefully I will be bidding on the phone tonight.
During the course of this talk?
Yes.
Hopefully, okay.
During the course of this talk.
So if the phone goes suddenly, Caroline has to dash out and you know what's happening.
No, I won't, because obviously you organize yourself that you don't have to do that, but you say, what is a typical day? Yesterday a client called and said, I have some jewelry, I'd like to consign it for November sale. And I said, well, the date of limit is today. She says, well, I can't come down from the mountain to give it to you, so what do? So I have to send somebody up. I mean, it's a whole process, and you just never ever know what the day brings in.
So it's been like that for you pretty much since the late 1990s?
Yes.
Yes.
What, late 1990s? late 1980s.
Late 1980s. Sorry, there's a typo on my notes. Late 1980s. Well,
Yes.
when we go back to that time then, let's go back to the beginning of this journey. And you began, and today you're the chairman, you actually began at Sotheby's as an intern. And that was the beginning of this wild ride. But take me back to those early years for you. So what was it like for you growing up? You said you come from Basel. When did you realise that this was the kind of life you wanted, the kind of career you wanted to pursue?
I realized that I thought about that question because you asked me that before and I wasn't quite sure when I realized it. But I realized it as early as 4 years old, okay? Because I was denied to play Maria in the kindergarten as the sort of Christmas.
They wouldn't let you play Maria?
They wouldn't let me to be Maria because I had blonde hair, because, and also because I'm Jewish. So they said it's a double no, okay? And I was 4 years old and I thought it's really not right for me not to play Maria because I was the Archangel Gabriel or something. Yeah. And I didn't fancy that at all because I was standing around and Maria had her great time and I was like just sitting there in the decor. So I decided one day I'm going to go up there and I was shocked. Yeah.
As you were sitting there dressed as the Archangel Gabriel, this was your epiphany when you realized, one day I'm going to show all of these people, I am Maria. I am Maria. So that translates to being chairman of Sotheby's.
Yes, kind of. It goes with the same language because you go like, what do I really want to do in life? And I wanted to have a job. First of all, I didn't want to go to school, which was a problem with my parents, because they said to, I had a deal, it came to a deal with my parents, or with my father, over that I would only do, what is it called, the International Baccalaureate, the A-levels, it's the sort of corresponding to this in Switzerland, which is actually the federal maturity, and I did Latin, and I did languages, and I was absolutely bad at all of it because I was very bored. I admit I was very bored. And on my way to school was the Kunstmuseum, so you could find me in the museum in Basel, looking at paintings and not being really interested in studying at all. And my father came, I said to him when I was about 15, I want to drop out of school. And he said, there's no way. What we do, we came to an agreement that I would finish school and then I could do what I wanted. And he only asked for one condition, that the condition was, what you start, you have to finish. That was the condition. So if you start studying, you have to do it to the end. I don't want to hear that you don't like it anymore and you will drop out. So whatever you touch, it has to be finished. So I was like, no way I can commit myself to 3 years of anything. After school, I need liberty, I need freedom. I want to do something else, something fun, something with art. So why not become an artist? You remember
that? Was the plan.
That was the plan. I wanted to become
an artist.
Were
you making art?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
I was dating an artist in school that created for me the most beautiful artwork that any man ever created. That's true. You want to know about this?
Yes.
So he was very much in love with me, and he inherited the watch of his grandfather, a gold watch, because we're in Switzerland. And he took it to the railway station and put it on the lines of the railway so that the train would basically put it into pieces. And he would take all the pieces and make an artwork, and I still have it. And he said, that's for us, for time to stand still forever. Well, obviously it didn't last. But
the thought was there.
The thought was there, and I was into art, and I said, okay, I want to become an artist, and I want to go to the Parsons School of Design. And my father had no idea what was going on about, but he had an agreement. And I said, I want to do a course for a year in Paris to become an artist and apply for Parsons, because it was quite a difficult process. So I went to Paris. And I really went to school, but I quickly realized...
What were you doing?
I can't tell you that. I dated artists. But I was totally enamored with art and artists, and I decided, I knew that I would be really no good at being an artist, and I wouldn't be able to earn my own money. And my father said, you have to be independent, you have to never be able to rely on any kind of man in your life, you have to be absolutely procuring for yourself. That's what I want. And so I said, okay, artists, no good, they will never be able to earn money, so let's go to Sotheby's. And I sold that idea to my father and said, I want to go to London, to Sotheby's, because I will not be able to make it anywhere else than in London. And she said, why? And I said, well, okay, we go back, okay, it's 1986. We go back into an era where there was Maggie Thatcher. She just started, I think, in 75 and lasted until 1990, and she was my sort of role model of a person who really had power. There was the Queen, there was Lady Diana. These were the three women that really were symbols of a generation, and they were in London. And I said to myself, the English obviously have a nanny complex, and they accept and respect women in a way that nobody would do on the continent. So my only chance at 18 is to go to London and become somebody, yes.
So you really felt those sorts of opportunities weren't available to you?
Oh, sure, yes.
So you wouldn't have gravitated towards going to Sotheby's in Geneva, for example? You
Never.
had to be London.
I'm a firm believer that I would never have a career if I would have started in Switzerland. Never. Never. Nobody would have ever immediately given me a chance or contemplated that a woman at 18 without studies could go and do something.
So
but the English are afraid of women, so we use it.
How did you then make that leap then from devising this plan, telling your father this is what I want to do, and then making it actually happen?
He said, I will treat this like studies, so you will, if you start at Sotheby's, you have to stay for 3 years like a study, and I will pay for your lodgings and dwellings, whatever, and you have to come by yourself after a year or two. So that was a bit complicated. But I did the work of art course first. That was like a starter to get into Sotheby's, I thought. And he was in agreement with that. That was a 6-month course. And within the 6-month course, I was actually allowed to do an internship. Only the master of the course did not like me, and he put me into a department that I had nothing to do with. It was the musical instrument department.
This was an art course, and it put you
Yes. It put me
He really didn't like you, didn't he?
He really didn't like me. I didn't like him either. But, bless him, he's dead. But he didn't like me, and he didn't want me to succeed in the art world. And he was really... We will not say that word.
Okay.
Okay.
So moving on. So you were...
So I go into the musical art department, and the head of the musical art department went like, oh my God, we have another foreigner coming here. You cannot talk English properly. You have no idea about musical instruments. What am I going to do with you? And I said, I have no idea either. So the assistant, or at the time she was called the secretary, today they call it assistants, she said, we will put her on the phone, she just takes the phone, that's all she does. So the first day there was nobody calling, and I was really, really bored. The second day I got a phone call, and I said, hello, this is Sotheby's, what can I do? And the person said, I'm Placido Domingo, I would like to speak, I can't do the Italian accent, Placido Domingo, I would like to speak to Graham. And I said, oh, this must be one of my boyfriends, completely stupid. He thinks I will fall for this. And I said, no, I'm the Queen of Sheba, and hung up. And he called back, and it was Placido Domingo, and I nearly lost my job, because Graham wasn't very pleased.
But did you put it through the second time?
I came up with an idea that we cannot discuss, but we cannot discuss this. But I came up with a very creative idea of why he had to keep me in this department, and he did. And then finished the course, and my father said, I give you 3 months to find a job. And nobody wanted me because I was like 18 and a half. I mean, why would anybody give me a job? I couldn't even talk English properly. So I called up the department in Precious and Modern, and I said, I want to absolutely intern with you. Please take me. And the assistant said, no, listen, we call you back tomorrow. And nobody ever called me. So I called twice a day. Okay, we didn't have handies, okay? So you had to actually be at home to call relentlessly. Then to call them twice a day, because that was it. So my job was sitting at home and calling them twice a day, and nobody wanted me. And I said to myself, okay, well, 3 months came to an end, and I did interview with other people, but absolutely no. But I mean, one person, will not name him, bless him, he was in art publishing. He said to me, you should go into Tupperwares and do food delivery service. That's what all the girls do. And I said, I'm no good at food. Yeah, this was the days, political correctness, forget it. They were like full/on against girls or women doing anything else than Tupperware parties, probably. And I was like, no, I'm going to Sotheby's. I will get that job. Only there was no job. There's absolutely no job to be getting. So I called up my godmother, and she is linked to the art world in a sort of over-subconscious way. She's a collector, and I said, my birthday gift from you this year is to make 1 phone call. And you do that? And she said, if I do that, you will have to work twice as hard as anybody that I know. Will you promise me that? And I said, I promise you. And that was the beginning. I started interning right away. And I didn't have anything for me to, so I was the assistant of the archivist, which meant that I would take books in and out of the library all day for the specialists who wrote notes. And I thought it was a great job. We didn't have computers. Get that, in 1986. We just had 1 computer for the whole department, but it wasn't really functional, so I had to write cards with the things that got sold, with the prices and the details. And that is how I learned about art, because I would record down in handwriting and sticking with sticky glue all the records in the archives. And 1 week into my internship, the archivist had a nervous breakdown.
This wasn't your fault?
No. Had nothing to do with me. And I got a job. And so I was like, yes, okay. And I got £250 a month from which I lived. And every 5th of every month, I would just reduce myself to rice, and cucumbers, and cashew nuts. That was my diet. And I was also, at the time, very pretty, so I was asked out all the time. I had a great life, with £250, probably the best life ever. 1 month into me getting this job, the junior cataloger in the department had a nervous breakdown.
Okay, now
again,
twice.
Because there was a lot of work in 1987. The whole of the Japanese clients started buying art really a lot, and we were understaffed, and so we were under a lot of pressure. So I accepted. I mean, they had nobody else. They just said, "You do that job now." So I became a junior cataloger. That was like number 2 job, also priest job, position. So I got like a raise. It was like £350 or something. And that was probably the best thing I did for myself, because all of a sudden in 1987 they didn't have anybody really doing all this work. And at the time we didn't have the phones, we didn't have the faxes. We just maybe had the faxes, but we had to go to visits and actually see the art in countries. We were dispatched, okay? And they sent me right away to Brussels, because nobody wanted to go to Brussels, okay? So Canon had to go to Brussels within about a week of my assignment. I had to go to Brussels and look at the kiss of Rodin. And I wasn't a specialist, I had no idea. I was like 19 years old, okay? And my mentor and boss said to me, okay, it's 350 to 450,000, it's the grand model. All you need to say is 350 to 450. If they want a little bit more, say 400 to 600, doesn't matter. We will sell it for 800,000. Anyway, just get this thing for the New York sale in the fall. And here is your ticket. You will be collected by the representative of the Brussels office, and she will come and collect you and take you to the client. And so I arrived in Brussels, and the representative of the office said, before we go to the visit, it's a little bit outside Brussels, like we have to drive, you will get a lunch. And she offered me shrimp sandwiches.
Shrimp sandwiches?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
By the time I arrived at the client, I said, where is the ladies' room? And I was so ill that I couldn't say anything, and I lost that damn bronze to Christie's because I couldn't even utter a word, and I was really ill for about a week afterwards. And that is the moment I decided that before I do any kind of presentation, same here today, I never eat. I never ever eat. Before I take an auction, no food. I would go to gala and benefits where I take auctions. I refuse any food until I've done my job because I lost my first deal. I thought they would kick me out, but they didn't, and so it continued until 1990, 3 years later.
So that was 1987, the shrimp affair.
Yes.
And despite this, you thrived, you grew, your career progressed, and then in 1990 you decided, well, you became an auctioneer, one of the very, very few women auctioneers
and the
in the world.
youngest.
And the youngest. Being an auctioneer is, whenever I've seen someone taking an auction, it strikes me as that it must be absolutely terrifying. Because not only are you there making a sale to somebody in a crowd, but there's a complex mental game going on throughout. You're like a director, you're directing a piece of theatre. But first, I think the first time, why did you want to do this? You've been at Sotheby's, and again I find this astonishing, you've been just a few years from beginning as an intern to now training up to be an auctioneer. So what drew you to that particular goal?
At the time, I loved being, first of all, I hate being bored, and at the time I had a motto which said, wherever there is fear, I go. That was my motivator. Anything that was new and exciting, I had to do it. So I went bungee jumping, I went into the shark channels, diving, I did a whole lot of these things just to really give me adrenaline. And I thought auction is the ultimate, like, Maria in the child play. So this goes back to kindergarten. I said, this really scares me. And I tell you, it scares me to this day. Every time you go up to this podium, you go like, will I be able to live up to the expectation of the public? Will I be able to sell what I have to sell? Is there something that will be thrown at me at one moment? I mean, you don't know what to expect. And in 1990, you really didn't know what to expect. Is that a dog? Okay. Sorry. Okay. Are you okay? Okay. So, we are before live streaming. We are really at a moment where people still came to the sale room when they wanted to buy something. Everybody worldwide traveled from sale to sale. The dealers traveled, there were less private people that bought. You had a different sort of energy. And 1990 was for me the year, what do you say, an annus horribilis. So I can guide you through this year because it's actually quite interesting, because it really changed my life around. In September 1990, my father died. And he wanted me to, and he wanted to see me as an auctioneer. Sorry, I'm not an emotional mushy, I'm sorry. Don't worry, but it's like it happened like, I don't know, 34 years ago. So he wanted to see me, and he couldn't, and I had to go up on this podium, pretty much in his memory. because he allowed me to do what I wanted to do, fundamentally. So that was the night I went up there. I got really scared, and somehow I did it. I have no idea. You asked me today what I lived through. I smashed with my hammer into the water glass because I got so excited I couldn't know where I was. And I went through emotions that you cannot even believe. It was quite difficult. And that very night, my boyfriend asked me to marry him. So I said, fine, let's do that. I've done the auctioneering, let's do something else.
This was after the auction. Yeah.
This was the night of the auction.
Night of the auction.
Okay. So I said yes. And the next day I came in and I handed in my resignation.
Really?
Yes, really. So I resigned from Sotheby's, moved away from a career, okay? Because I said, done my career, now I can become a trophy wife. That's
So
really what I thought. That was just a natural progression.
So you felt now that having become an auctioneer, you'd reached the summit of your time at Sotheby's. This was as high as you could go. You conquered your fears, and now your boyfriend asked you to be his wife, and you felt okay.
No, I mean, I had a long way to become at the height of my career, but I just decided, okay, I've done that, next. As you would when you're 24. It's stupid, okay, but that's what I did. So I resigned, I moved in with him in Munich, and then he wanted to move to Switzerland, so I got engaged, I got married, all in 1 year, okay? It wasn't even September. Got married and I divorced, all in 1 calendar year.
Oh.
And I came back to Sotheby's.
How long did the marriage last?
3 months.
3 months.
I knew it was a mistake before, like just before, but I still did it because I said to myself, my choice as well.
Yeah,
And
I
I
can't
divorced.
imagine you really as a trophy wife, as you said.
No, but it wasn't just a trophy wife. I mean, we were the same age, but he wanted somebody who really was a wife, you know, in the traditional sense, having children. He was from a big industrial family, and it was very traditional. And I just said to myself, that's not me. No, that's wrong casting. So Sotheby's called me up and said, no, I mean, we know that you would like to have a family life, but can you just step in, like, for half a year in Geneva and take over? And I said, half a year I can do. So I accepted that job before I divorced. And then I divorced, and then my career really took off.
So what was that job in Geneva?
The job in Geneva was the deputy director of Impressions and Modern Art. So we were in the very, very busy years. Okay, 1990 was also a very interesting year because 1990 was in the beginning in May, the most amazing record-breaking year, and in November, nothing sold. So we went into the darkest time of the art market in the 90s. But still, somehow, I got a lot of work in Geneva, and I met a lot of clients and collectors, and I just adored, and it saved probably my life to be back at Sotheby's, I have to admit, or have a job that sort of carried me through a framework every day.
How did you have to not reinvent, but sort of re-evolve to take on the Geneva job? So you were somebody who came and pretty much taught yourself as you progressed through Sotheby's. So when you went into this role, what did you have to do in order to thrive in that position? What qualities did you need to bring to the fore?
As a woman in that position, you just had to work your ass off, really, literally. I mean, you just had to work really, really hard to make yourself known. You had to be present at events. You had to go out there and be social. And that was quite tough, because when you just recently divorced and you recently lost your father and you think that you recently lost... I mean, honestly, I was in a total midlife crisis. I was like, my life is at the end. I mean, really, I was really young, but in my head I was really old. So you just did it, because you just had to do it. There was no choice. I mean, for me that was never a choice. did what you had to do. But I have maybe been blessed with being a polyglot and a polymath. That really helped me. I come from different cultures, different religions. I come from different mindsets when it comes to my family. So I was always very able to adapt to situations or to a different place. And I always feel at home. And I always relate. I try to relate to the people I have in front of me.
Did you ever think, when things were really difficult for you, when you were saying you were having this sort of midlife crisis, did you ever think perhaps there's another career for me, or there's something else that I could be doing? I don't need to be here at Sotheby's. Or was there still that huge motivation for you in that attraction?
I wouldn't be at Sotheby's if I would think that ever. I mean, for me it's very clear that if you don't like what you do, then you're not good at it. If you're not good at it, then what's the point? You know what I mean? For me, that was never a choice. And I adore Sotheby's because Sotheby's Sotheby's or another auction house is a place where you can actually have very many different hats on. It's not an auctioneer alone. I do strategies, I see clients, I do teams, I create new events. I mean, you can actually really be an artist within Sotheby's, which is a wonderful thing, yeah. And they give you chances to do something. They take them away from you as well, but obviously it was for me I got offered many jobs, but for me Sotheby's was what I always wanted to do. Yeah.
So as you progressed through your career at Sotheby's, how did you bring innovation to the company? How did you bring about change in terms of how things functioned, especially in Geneva? Because you said when you were initially considered, it was a very, very off-putting place for a young woman to consider a career. So how did you go about it?
It was a very male-driven domain, okay? The management was very male. It just was the way it used to be in every industry, I guess. And what I did is I tried not to be too much in their face. So I tried to sort of go a little bit under the radar and pretend that I'm a very sort of innocent, Gabrielle-looking angel. Whereas I just did the job. And what I innovated is certainly that everybody should have a chance. That you really should never ever look at some curriculum vitae before having met the person. So when I interview somebody, I'm not impressed if somebody has 15 masters. For me, the person and the relational contact is much more important than what you come with. And there are other values, I think, that I put in front in a person, as well as with my relationships with the collectors. And I did many different events, I took in many different, my achievements are not up to me to say, but they have been luckily many, and I thrive with new things that happen and can be created every day. So, for instance, my last innovation, is that I have decided that not all that we should do is only about selling art. So I did an exhibition which is called Nothing is for Sale. Absolutely nothing is for sale. And I went to the collectors and I said, I'd like to have one artwork from you. And it was British art of the 20th century, so I'd like to have I got a Bacon, I got a Riley, I got a Hepworth, I got Nicholson, I got Damien Hirst. I got really 7 fantastic artworks that I sourced in Geneva for one night. And then I got a specialist from London that would discuss the art. And everybody said, I'm sure that you will sell the Gourmet or you will sell one of these art. And I said, absolutely not, it's nothing for sale. And that has led, this is true, and that has led me into having conversations with the collectors and with the experts, which were...
You take away the immediately transactional nature of a conversation, and then you start finding a different type of engagement that opens up. So it's not...
It's endless. What you want to innovate is endless. So you really go with what is zeitgeist, what you think that your collectors are responding to, and it doesn't need to be a hard sell or an auction context.
We're actually, this has taken slightly longer than I thought, so I might have to miss a few questions, but there's something I wanted to bring up with you, which I think would be very interesting, is, I mean, you've had this incredibly dynamic, colourful career, and it's very hard to compress it all into just half an hour or so, but I was wondering, perhaps if you could give me a couple of examples of artworks that have meant something to you over the years.
You sound as if I'm at the end of my life. I do.
As we approach the end of your life, as we approach the end of this afternoon's talk, could you give, we're nowhere near the end of your life, could you please give me maybe 2 or 3 artworks that have meant a huge amount to you over the years?
Okay, well, that's really I would take to a secret island if I only had 3 to choose. Yes, my desert island. Okay, well, there is the one that really got me into the art world, which is in the Kunstmuseum in Basel. I don't know if you know the room of Hans Holbein. If you don't, you should go there, because there is the Christ on the tomb that has been laid down just after he got, what is it called? What? Crucified, sorry, okay. Sorry. Crucified. And he's put under this drapery of linen, and he's on a coffin, and he's measuring 1.74 meters from one to the other, and you can really see you can Google it, you can see this image is the most incredible emotional condition of humanity that you will ever find anywhere in your life. It was painted in 1521. It's Holbein before he was sent to London, because there was the Bildersturm and there was a whole thing that you couldn't really sort of indulge in the culture and so forth. So we have a whole Holbein room, and that is luckily due to Erasmus, who was a humanist and who believed that art should be part of the culture of the place. And that is why Basel has opened the first museum, and why Geneva is really lagging behind, because Calvinists did not really endorse that culture. So that is, for me, the key work of all works that I will never ever forget to visit when I'm in Basel. I had a pilgrimage, and had a huge influence on me.
That was when you were a teenager, you saw that for the first time.
Yes, but I still keep seeing it every time I'm there. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and then...
It's pilgrimage. So 2 more. I adore Flaming June. I don't know if you know that painting. At the moment it is in London, so you can go and visit it.
Frederick Layton.
Yes, I saw Frederick Layton. And maybe it's not an obvious choice, but it appeals to my romantic soul. And it also represents to me absolute beauty. And she's there in her sleep, but on her side you can see a little branch of a leander tree. So leander is a synonymous for death. So it has very great connotations with the passing of time, but in a beautiful way. And then the last work that I would really want to have is a Barnett Newman. Barnett Newman is an artist that you might not be exposed to very often, because he only did about 86 works in his whole lifetime, paintings. And when you see one, you recognize one because it's very plain in color, and you have one or several lines that go vertically down on the canvas. And why Barnett Newman and not Mark Rothko? Okay, so this is because I think that Barnett Newman is the ultimate spiritual artist. Rothko gets you with his feelings of the space, and also with his horizontal sort of canvases. It's very, the lines are horizontal, and represent, I mean, if you think about it, what is the cross? The cross is two gestures. It's a vertical line and it is a horizontal line. And I think Rothko has the human condition, the emotions he gets you through, and Barnum Newman takes the gesture of God and has a vertical line that just goes from heaven to earth. And it's a totally conclusive work for me that I adore, and I don't know if you can sort of understand this, but it resumes it all in one go. And these three paintings would represent me most, and I think art. What is it about? It's about death, sex, beauty, can't say sex anymore, but beauty, and
death, sex and beauty.
And power or money. I think these three things resume what art and what life is about, yes.
Perfect. Well, I think that's a wonderful note to wrap this up on. Are we doing questions? Yeah. Are you alright with that?
I'm fine with everything.
If anyone has any questions,
here we go.
There is
Go ahead. Do you want a micro?
No, I think I can.
Yes.
Pretty loudly. Thank you so much for your talk. It was amazing for a woman to hear another woman speak about her journey in sort of a parallel universe. Because I'm an artist, but someone who's doing something in the same industry but in a different way. You clearly understand men and art, and I want to prod a little bit that, because we're here in Women's and Arts Fair, and I mostly see women here. And as a female artist, we are trying to find audience beyond our gender, whether cultural or biological. And for someone who seemed to understand different sides of the coin and the industry itself, would you say, one controversial question, do you think it's good for women to exhibit in women's only environments? And do you think there is a chance? And what should we do in order to be able to speak to more broadly, even if ideas
you go there where I didn't want to go, but here we go. Okay, I get that question. I do, I embraced feminism in a kind of different way at the beginning. I think what we're going through at the moment is not helpful for women themselves. We are actually boxing ourselves up, and we are actually sort of isolating ourselves. I do know that, female artists have a great moment, but you're right, where are the men? So if you exhibit in women's spaces, yes, it's wonderful. I think you have to exhibit as much and as many times that you possibly can. And women artists have an absolute moment of thriving and going beyond what has ever been achieved before. But I don't like that they're called women artists. When I was asked for an interview in previous times, I was asked because I was good, not because I was a woman. And it should be gender free, it should be nationality free, it should be just based on pure talent and not on race, on gender, on anything, on age, nothing. And so I would love that this expression would go away of the women artist, of the woman boss, or of whatever it is, because it's not doing us actually any good. So I think the answer is just exhibit wherever you can. But also, if you want to be having a career as an artist, you have to choose a gallery that defends you and that really promotes your work. You cannot do it by yourself. You just can't. You have to be a bit more strategic about it. For as much as I love being frivolous, I'm very focused. And I think that is most probably what we are lacking in the world today. We are not, we box ourselves up ourselves. This doesn't help us. I don't know if this helps you, but I think you have to become strategic if you want to succeed.
Okay, thanks. Any more questions?
Oh my God, everybody's now. Okay, go for it. I don't know.
Sorry, yes, the lady there.
First, thank you so much for coming. I really enjoyed hearing you.
That's very sweet, thank you.
I'm in a similar position that you are. So I'm originally from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So when I go into the workplace, it's a lot of men, and some of them think that they know art more than they actually do. So what are your tips for just dealing with men in those spaces?
You shouldn't care what they think or not think. That's a start, okay. And I think you just have to prove them by being yourself and by, first of all, never think or never compare yourself if somebody is more intelligent or less intelligent. It's absolutely irrelevant. And try to sort of make yourself indispensable to them, and that they have their advantage of working with you, because I think a lot of men are very insecure also now to letting women into, even though they have to let us into certain positions. They are, I think, I'm not a man, but I can see that it's not so easy for them to just, to let you in. So it's I wouldn't even say that about women. You just need to be able to collaborate and be really like a team and not worry what they think.
Okay, another question?
Yes?
I like what you said about your father and his involvement in your growing as an artist. Is there any specific artwork or artist that kind of bridges the gap between you and your father or connects you to him in a way?
Nothing. I tell you what, I mean, if you really want to know, my father was born in 1907. He had me when I was 6 years old. He's 6 years old. And he survived the Holocaust. He came to this country as a refugee, as an immigrant from Jewish Germany that was persecuted. So he left everything behind. So he asked me on the 9th of November 89, correct me, is that the right time? For those who don't know what happened then, but it was 6 months before he died, he asked me to never claim back the goods we had in Frankfurt that were ours, our families. So he never wanted to possess anything else. Ever since he left Germany, he didn't want any worldly goods. He was somebody who had a gold watch, a very simple one, and a car. He loved his car. The rest, he didn't even have a house anymore. He only wanted to rent. He was totally detached of any kind of material values, not like me. But he was like that. So if there's something that links me to my father, I have his gold watch.
And one last question. Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you for your talk. I was wondering, because I'm at the beginning of my career, which cities you would recommend to work in.
Which one, sorry?
Which cities you would
Cities?
yes,
Okay.
you would recommend to work in. Because at the moment I'm on a graduate visa, which in London is quite tricky. So I'm just wondering.
Well, where do you want to live?
I'm really open to everything. I'm Swiss, so
Are you Swiss? Okay.
Sorry, and what is it you're looking to do? What
Yes.
field are you?
auction house at the moment.
Auction house. Wow. But what capacity in auction house?
What do you mean with capacity?
Which department?
Orientalist photography.
Okay.
Middle Eastern.
Which city? Well, you can go to. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm not only Swiss. I also have an English passport because my father came here. But I would look. If I would start over, I think I would go to places like the Middle East or the East. I would look east. Even though it doesn't look like it now, but I think there are many opportunities. Now, I don't know, I refer to Arsalan, who knows this world much more, because this is just a gut feeling. I would start in a place where everything can be done. What do you think?
Well, I think I was in Dubai many years ago, and I know the lady who just spoke to us now can point to the fact that there's been an awful lot of activity in Jeddah and Riyadh in the last few years. But I do think that getting in getting into something at the ground floor is really, really helpful. So when I began my journalism career, I was living in Dubai, and I just started writing about local galleries because no one else was, and no one else was particularly interested. And I knew very little about art, but like Caroline was saying, when she was doing her early roles and just thriving and carrying books back and forth, you just pick up stuff as you go. So I think if you're passionate, and I think you do need a passion, you do need to actually be hell-bent on doing something because nothing is easy, is if that's your passion, go to where it's growing. Grow to where it's growing. Don't go to where it's, established and there's less hunger for new people. Go to a place where they can use you, where they can use your perspective, they can use your skills, they can appreciate you. That's definitely what I would do. I would look, as Caroline says, I would look in the Middle East and see what's happening there. I know a lot of Sotheby's has opened in Riyadh late last year, and there's a Sotheby's department in Dubai, which is very active. So yeah. Sorry, you're asking Caroline, not
That's fine. I mean, I wouldn't know. I mean, for me, your asset would be your languages, and that you take the whole European thing into new countries. I think I would look east, definitely.
Look east.
Look east.
Okay, how are we doing with the time? Oh, done. Okay, that's it. Well, thanks everyone for coming.
Well, thank you.
Caroline,